Ben, I'm so happy to have you on the show today.
And I'm happy to be here, Rollis.
So for those of you who don't know Ben, he is the founder of Brandgear.shop. And this is an amazing organization. They've been doing a lot of great things with helping companies to promote themselves and their brands. But I want to make this kind of a dual purpose. So you'll learn a little bit about his business, but I also want you to learn about him as a business owner as well, an entrepreneur, get a chance to know him in addition to what he does with his company. So I want to kind of get into that. I'm curious, what was it that inspired you to start Brandgear.shop?
So it started 40 years ago. I worked for another company in Pearland, Texas, that did just this. And after 7 years with doing it for him, I went to go work for another company, and I was with Carousel Productions for several years. And by the late 90s, I told myself, it's time. And I jumped in, and I've been happily ever at it since.
Awesome. Okay. So whenever you went from working for this other company and then you went to work for yourself, what are some things you had to change or experience or think about when you started to do it on your own?
The big thing I had to learn was how to do business, right? And seriously, how to do business. Because now, when I started, it was only me, and I had an assistant that would come in, 5 hours a week and help me with, just orders and, bookkeeping and blah, blah, blah. Well, that didn't last very long. It only lasted 3 or 4 months before I had to hire, full time. And
that's a good thing.
That's a very good thing, and this was the early 2000s, and I'm happy to say business was absolutely booming back then, and things were rolling and rolling. And before I knew it, we moved into an office. We were really rolling, getting along, and then I noticed things started to change. That was about 2010, right? So I had about 10,
In what
11.
way?
Business was changing. The way business was happening, I used to literally start my days at 6:30, 6:45 in the morning, and by 9 o'clock I would be out and about, and I would literally call on clients all day long, right?
And when you say call on clients, do you mean physically in person?
Physically call on clients.
Okay.
Right? There and somebody wanted to see a shirt, a hat. Well, you either had to ship it directly to them, or you had to go see them. There was no. It was out there, but it wasn't like it is today, where no problem. You got a minute? Hold on. Zoom. Right? You had to go do it and get it done. Right? And if you wanted the business, that was truly the way to do it. Well, in 2010, 11, things started to change. And all I could say is, here we are today. And I'm very happy with the way things are today.
So now just to walk me through this, so you were physically calling on clients, getting it done in person. Then 2010, 2011, it was no longer that. What did it change into at that point?
It changed into, what am I doing? Help me. It literally changed into.
Like what you're doing on the phone now?
Well, yeah, there was more phone activity,
okay.
Right? Less in-person activity, and some email activity.
Okay, some email as well.
But
okay.
not like it is now.
Okay.
Now basically, I would say it's 85% email activity, right? The phone hardly rings, right? And when it does ring, funny, it's my cell phone that rings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Very rare, I mean very rare, to the fact where I'm almost thinking like, we don't even need phones anymore. But
right.
of course you need phones,
right?
And that's how it's changing. And honestly, it's fabulous, right? Because it lets us, Rollis, we're coast to coast. I ship things from California to New York, everywhere in between, and all over the world. I mean, on a weekly basis.
That's really cool. So for you to physically call on your clients, you can only service a pretty small area.
That's a fact.
But now you're able to service nationwide.
You know, that is absolutely true. Absolutely. And it, you know, it's so easy. People don't even think about it any longer.
That's true.
Right? Just like in your business, I'm certain how many, yes, you have your Houston clients like Brandgear.shop.
Right, exactly.
But you have, unfortunately,
All over.
many others that, you know what, I'm certain they're on the West Coast.
Oh, yeah.
They're on the East Coast. They're everywhere in between. And I'm certain, I know you travel from time to time, but I'm certain there's nothing like a phone call or an email. Hold on a second, right? Correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like, I know for us, you know, we like you, we service nationwide. Most of our interactions are by email.
Yep.
We'll do some clients maybe by text.
Yes.
Not a lot. And then when it comes to phone calls, that's rare.
Yeah, it is rare, isn't it?
And now we do have some check-in meetings we'll do with clients, and they like to do those by Zoom. We'll do like a Zoom call. So we have some of those, and those are periodic. But I would say most of our business is done by email.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you know, it's only gonna, and I can't imagine, you know, what's next. You know, through the mind.
Right.
So I can't really imagine it's gonna be this way for at least another 10 years. I'm certain.
Yeah.
But you know, where else can it possibly go?
Right.
Right?
It's interesting. I mean, I only thing I think of is, you know, with these new devices like these Amazon, Alexa, or Siri, or something like that, or this Chat GPT. I wonder if that's the next level of, like, you know, them ordering through Brand Gear, using their Alexa. Hey, Alexa, I'd like to order, you know, 10 shirts, or
Right.
whatever. You know,
You know, I
100
wonder,
shirts.
but I think that's a ways
Ways
away.
away,
Yeah, I
okay.
think that's a ways away.
Especially with corporate clients, I would think.
Especially with
Yeah.
corp. You know, no matter what happens, you still want the human contact, whether it's via email, you know, on the phone. You know, you want at least a little bit of human contact.
Yeah.
Right?
I think once someone becomes a client, you tell me this is the same with you. Once someone becomes a client, then they are willing to maybe talk with you a little bit more.
Absolutely.
But up to that point, they may just may relegate you just to email until they're ready to talk to you.
You know, Rollis, I have many clients. I'd say at least 50% of the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of clients that we have, that it's just that, right? It just comes through email, and we you know, and we confirm it.
Yeah.
I hardly speak with them.
It just happened with us because this is my second time ordering from you, and the second time I would just basically sent you over a text or an email saying, "Hey, I need this amount of shirts,"
That's a fact.
and you got it done. You sent me the proof, which was great. I was like, "Okay, great." I said yes. Next thing I know, a few days later, these arrive at my
There you go.
office.
End of story.
Yeah, it was really easy process. Whereas in the old days, you would have driven all the way out to where I am,
That's a fact.
meet with me.
That's correct.
Then you probably would come back again to show me the proofs or show me something in person.
It would have probably come one of two ways. It would have come via email,
Okay.
right? Either in person, right, via email, or we would have
Maybe a fax possibly. Or?
maybe a fax. You know what? We don't even have a fax machine in our office any longer.
There was a while when I kept a fax number, but it went to my email because whenever they would fax the number,
Right.
it would scan it and send me an email.
And that's what I have nowadays. And you know what? I believe I think this year, meaning from 24 to 25, I said, you know what? Let's forget it. Because I don't think it was 6 a year nowadays.
Yeah, it's same for me. I actually
Right?
canceled mine. There was there's a thing I found being online where you can fax on demand because I had to fax like one thing last year. And so I went online and searched and I did literally just the one document the one time. And I paid like some small fee. It was very small.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Just
And you know what? It's a lot cheaper. It's a lot cheaper. And I'm happy to say in our building where we office, it's become pretty much doctors' offices.
Okay.
Right? And one thing doctors have is fax machines, and I'm very friendly with everyone in my building. Well, at least on my floor.
Right.
Right? It's like, hey
funny.
man, would you send me a fax? Would you send this for me?
Right,
By the
right.
way, you need anything? I'll make you some shirts. Oh no,
Right.
you're fine. It's true.
Well, listen, I gotta tell you, as you can see, guys, I have it on. This is my prior batch. He just sent me these. These are super high quality. Can you tell me just what's the process of you guys getting this done for a client? Tell me about the build quality of these type of shirts.
Well, Rollis, I'm happy to say you make us look good because you use a great shirt. You use a Nike shirt, and you don't use an inexpensive Nike. You use a Nike that costs a little money, so it's always going to be good, right? And in this case, right, we have the shirt, and your logo is just one color, and it's simple, and we embroider the RF on it and call it a day.
Right.
We send you the email. Hey, Rollis, how's this? This good? Yeah, it looks great.
So, okay, that brings a question. You said one color. What do you suggest that they simplify? Let's say they have a logo that's kind of complicated. Do you suggest they simplify the logo for their shirts? Should they have two colors, one color, three color? Give me some guidance on that.
The guidance is you're the boss,
Okay.
right? Your logo, how many colors is it? Is it really one color, or is it 8 colors, 10 colors, 3 colors? And I always say it's always best to use your logo the way it looks.
Okay.
That's how everybody sees it. When you hand your business card, what does your logo look like? Now, in your case, that is your logo.
Right.
Right?
Right.
But what you hand out and what's on, let me see your website. Let me see what you got on there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I want to do.
Okay.
Right? And it doesn't cost any more.
Oh,
right?
it's the same. It's the same.
It's all the same.
Now, how about from an embroidery standpoint? How many colors can you do conceivably in a logo?
We can do up to 10 colors in a logo.
Really?
Yeah, which is very, by the way, it's very rare that it gets
I would think
that many colors.
Yeah.
It would have to be a design with the world in it and snakes and birds and eagles and
Right.
all kinds of stuff,
Right.
right? And you have to remember, as a rule on a shirt, you only have about, let's say 3.5 inches, square round. So how much can you really go? But most logos are 2 to 4 colors,
Okay.
right?
And when I think about all the big brands that I interact with on a daily basis, like Nike, for example, it's a very simple logo.
Very simple logo.
And there's only one color generally.
Yep.
And it can be different colors, but the same shape.
That's it.
Apple, very simple.
It's very, very simple.
If I think of Tesla, all these different brands, they all have a very simple logo. Is there anything to that? What do you think about that?
Honestly, I've really never thought about it
Okay.
until right now.
Okay.
And I think it's fabulous, right? Well, number one, I can't go wrong, right? It's going to come out great no matter what we do, right? And even if we do it in a wrong color, oh, that's fine, right?
One thing I remember about your logo is it's very colorful.
It is colorful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was by design, if you wanted it that way, but to me, it just spells variety. Like you're able to be not all things to everyone, but at least you're able to be very flexible with your schemes and the way you do things.
I am, and I try to keep it the colors that it is, although there is a one color version of it, be it black or white or whatever color that may be. But Brandgear.shop, we use different colors, right? So the client knows, we can do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is what we are, and it's very appealing.
Right.
Right? It's very appealing.
Let's talk about timelines, because for me, I didn't have a tight timeline, but I just noticed I got my product pretty quick. I mean, from the time I ordered it to the time I actually received it, it surprised me to the point that I came home late from a shoot. I didn't even notice it came in. It was just a box that my wife had pulled in the day before. And I was like, wow, I just was not expecting it that fast. So give me an idea of your most challenging order that you got, like the big, challenging, huge order, and how you're able to get it out quickly.
So I'll go to the Houston Astros, right?
Okay.
The Houston Astros, we'll do 30, 40,000 T-shirts for them.
What?
Yeah, 30, 40,000 T-shirts. And you know what? We get it done in about 3 weeks' time,
That's amazing.
right?
40,000 shirts in 3 weeks?
That's a fact, Jack. It's what it is.
Oh my goodness.
Is. Yeah.
How do you even do that?
This is what we do, right? This is what we do. This is what we're geared for. And you have to be, if I can't do it, somebody can,
Good point. That's
Right?
that's a good business lesson.
right? Somebody can. So I know I can do it. And we do it, of course.
Right.
I've done it for decades.
Right. Okay, but if someone is looking for going from like nothing to a ton of product, it sounds like you can get there pretty quickly.
Absolutely, of course.
That's
Yeah,
great.
and we have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because somebody will do that. If you want to be in this industry, be successful in this industry, and do several $1 million in business, you best be able to do that. If not, you need to do another business. Go make
Yeah.
pizza and sell one at a time.
No, there's a business lesson. There's a business lesson there because somebody will.
Somebody will.
So if you
Absolutely.
don't do it, somebody will. And then another thing I got from it was consistency.
Consistency is the key. If at a 40,000 or 30,000 or 20,000, 10,000, or even 1,000, you know what? Your number one, it's got to look like your number 100, which needs to look like your number 500, which needs to look like your number 700. It's got now.
At 39,000.
That's exactly correct.
Yeah.
That's exactly correct.
Yeah.
And it best be right. And of course, within that, if you have 30,000 shirts, you know what? I might have 50 or 60 that is going to be a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, or the print might come, not that great,
Right.
Or the embroidery.
Well, so what do you do in those cases when you get some of those?
We toss them.
So
It's very rare
so
you see.
commitment to quality.
Sometimes you're going to see them because it's just going to skip, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we pull it out. It's very common. You order 1,000 pieces and your delivery is going to be 982,
Okay.
right? Especially if it's special order shirts. And we don't, if it's a white T-shirt, chances are I have the white T-shirts in stock and we'll just pull them and print them. But if
Right.
it's a special order shirt,
Mm-hmm.
jacket, whatever the piece, it's going to be short.
So what do you do in those cases?
We eat it. Yeah, I can't bill you for it. How can I bill
Right.
you for goods you didn't receive?
That just shows your commitment to go. You know what else I got from this too? Is certainty. Because, and I think that's the reason why sometimes people come to our business is that they want to know that the quality is going to be at a certain level and not wonder if it's going to be good or not. Because
Absolutely.
if they order 1,000 and they get 982 that are good, they know that they're going to get good quality 982 and they're not going to be billed for 1,000.
That's a fact. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you best be consistent with it. End of story, right? Consistency in any product is the key,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
No matter what your industry, you be consistent and you do it right and you treat your client right. And guess what? They're going to call you again.
Okay, now I like the Astros story. What's another fun story, challenging client that you had over the years? And another thing I wanted to ask you is too, do you also work with smaller clients? Because that's a lot of a large order.
Yep. So Cactus Wellhead.
Oh yes, Cactus. I remember meeting them.
Cactus Wellhead, yes, Rollis, you have met Cactus Wellhead, and I ship stuff all over the world for them.
Wow.
And just the other day, they needed 12 shirts, and they had to go to like somewhere in California, right? And they needed like 24 of some special lunch kit thing,
Okay.
right? So, and we found, we have the means, the way to find those people that will do that, and that's what they're getting. They're going to get their 12 shirts in assorted sizes. And they're
Okay.
going to get their 24, lunch kits, right?
Nice.
And they're going to pay for them, I'll tell you that.
Right, of course.
Right? I mean, it came out to a nice order, several $1,000 order. And that's, you best do that. You best do it well. And you best say, thank you so much for your order. What else you got?
Right, exactly.
Right?
Yeah. What is a lunch kit? Give me an example of what does that look like?
You know
Like
what?
a little lunch box or something
Like
that?
a little lunchbox.
Okay.
But they can be soft-sided. They can hold, they can be lunch for 10 people,
Okay.
giant.
Okay.
They can be individuals. They can be anything in between. They can have your full color logo on it. They can have a one color logo on it. They can be completely decorated all the way around on all sides. Whatever you want to do, we're going to get done. And guess what? There is 350,000 vendors as needed that we can call on and find your goods.
Which goes back to the certainty and consistency, because if for some reason they need a big, large order and one supplier can't meet it, you can go to another one to help meet it. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Okay. Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. So just because there's 350,000, and let's say lunch kits. Well, you know what? Not everyone is going to have your inventory, the style you want, the color you want. Mm-hmm. They might have out of 1,000, they might have, I only have 300 black, but I can do green, and I have green and purple and blue. Well, I just need black, right? So I've got to find it.
Okay, yeah,
right.
Makes sense.
And then the client has to pick it.
Yeah.
Right. And I'll give the client 3. I always try to find at least 3.
3 solid choices.
Yes, 3 solid choices. Hey, take a look at this. You don't want to give too many choices.
Yeah, exactly.
It gets confusing, and I've learned people really don't want to give me the 3 best. So I try to find a low price, a high price, and a mid price, all in the same basic format that fits what that client needs, and let them choose.
Got it. Makes sense. Okay. So I wanted to also ask you about how do clients, no, before I get there, what are some of the most interesting products that people have ordered recently that maybe people haven't thought about that they could put? Because I mean, obviously everybody knows you can do a cap, you can do a shirt. Those are kind of the most common, right? Is that probably the most common things?
Those are absolutely the most common.
Okay. What are some uncommon, different ideas that you thought were kind of cool or interesting?
Scott Macon Equipment needed and wanted a flash drive, right? That they can load them up, put their equipment on, for each individual office, because Scott Macon Equipment has offices in California, in New York, and every spot in between.
Okay.
Right? And they would need, like 50 with New York, 50 with California, 50 with, Oklahoma.
Right.
And they would send us the goods, the information.
Right.
And we would send it to the factory, and that factory would do just that.
Do they ship it directly to them?
They ship it directly to the client. Absolutely.
Okay, makes sense.
Unless the client, wants it all to come to them. Some do.
Okay.
But most of the time, they're going to go to all the different locations.
Yeah, makes sense. How popular I know the big thing for a while was like either getting the water bottles or like the Stanley Cup type stuff, like the big, the ones that are thermos basically, having the logos on that. Are those still hot? Is it still popular?
They're popular. It's, Rollis, it's whatever the client is looking for and needing. And bottles are very popular.
Okay.
Right? The client can have a $5 bottle. Some clients might want a $30 bottle or a $40 bottle. It all depends. And yes, there are, and you would think $40 for a bottle, but you know what? So the size of the bottle, this particular bottle is like a 32 ounce.
Right.
It keeps things, hot all day or cold all day, right? It all depends what you're needing.
That's something that people will use though. Like if someone gives me
hope
that,
so.
I'm gonna use that because if I go to a store, it's gonna cost me like $40, $50 to get
That's
something
a fact.
like that.
That's correct.
So if I can get, if a company gives me that and it has the logo on it, I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna see that. It's like branding every time I use it.
That's correct. That's exactly correct.
I love that idea. Okay, What suggestions would you give to me if I was going to go to a conference? Let's say it was an industry conference I'm going to go to. What would you suggest, or what do you think is the most popular item that I would take to a conference? Would it be shirts, caps, the bottle thing you're talking about? What would you suggest?
For giveaway, Rollis, the best thing really is a $2 to $3 item, because let's face it, you're going to give hundreds of these away, and you're going to give them away there at the meeting, and they're really going to disappear within a few days' time. They're either going to go home, the kid's going to get it, right? Right.
Got it. Okay.
So, but the fact is, no matter what it is, your client got it. Your client got your name. You conveyed your message. Hey, I'll be happy to give you one. I need your business card, right? So they have your card, which they then put in.
Right.
Right. They're going to be in complete contact with you. So it's kind of a trade, but I say there's no. And of course,
what are some $2 or $3 items? Give me an example of what that would be.
A pen.
Okay.
A flash drive.
A flash drive. Are you getting that cheap?
Yeah, you can get them that cheap, right? Not the most expensive,
right? Of course.
But you can get a flash drive for $5, $6
they're useful.
a piece.
Having flash drives are useful. So.
And they're useful, and it all depends, if a client wants to. It all depends what that client wants to do with it, right? And it's up to them.
What if I was going to a smaller conference where I'm not going to be giving as many of them out, and I want it to be like a nice, something they would want to use and remember me by?
Rollis, I'm going to tell you the same stuff, right? It's all going to depend on where your comfort level is and what do you want to give to your client. And I'll ask you.
Let's say I had a budget. Let's say I have a budget of $40 or $50. Let's say $50 is my budget.
That ain't going to happen. No one is going to go anywhere and give out a $40 or $50 item.
If I'm going to a small conference, and I like in some conferences I go to, they're like top executives.
No one's going to give out that. No,
they're not going to do
that? No, not going to happen.
Okay,
because first of all, you have $40 or $50 an item, right? So you're only going to give away how many?
Well, some of these conferences only have like maybe anywhere between 25 to 50 people.
All right, so 25 times 50. You're not going to spend $3,000, $4,000. It's not going to happen.
Okay.
It's not going to happen. Now it'll happen afterward.
Okay.
Right? But it won't happen there. The best thing to do is you really want to
bring the budget down.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Right? Absolutely. You're there. You're fishing. Right? You're throwing your line in the water. You're putting a worm. Right?
Yeah.
And when you catch your fish, right? Well then, now I got a fish, and then now you're going to take it home. You're going to make your beautiful meal. You want rice with it. You want your fish. Right? You're going to do what you want to do with that fish.
Right.
Same thing with your client.
Okay.
Right?
Makes
sense. That's
okay.
the rule.
So typical is going to be about $3 per item, maybe $2 or $3.
Absolutely.
That should be kind of your budget.
Absolutely.
Even at like a smaller conference, high level, you're still not bringing up that budget too much. Okay.
You know what? And I hear this almost every day. Hey Ben, especially now. 'Tis the season. This is March. It's going to be April, right? Well, guess what happens in April?
What happens?
Golf tournaments start up again.
I didn't think about that.
Fishing tournaments, trade shows, right?
Yeah.
All kinds of things happen between May and October, right? And there's reason those are the busy months in my business as well, right? May through October. Oh, we love May through October.
So what should companies be thinking about with the golf tournaments coming up soon? What should companies be thinking about in terms of promotional items at these events?
And that's a great question, Rollis. Golf balls are number one.
Golf balls, I wouldn't have thought about that. Now, what's the cost level?
Dude,
enough of them?
Rollis, you can spend $8, $10 a dozen for golf balls.
Really?
We just did a tournament. We're doing a golf order right now. These balls are $86 a dozen. A dozen. And we're doing, matter of fact, we just did 12 dozen. 144, and within a week, she ordered 24 more dozen.
Wow.
Right? That's a lot of money for a golf ball.
Yes, those are some nice golf balls.
Yeah.
And I think the reason why they did that, I think it goes back to what I was talking about earlier too. I think they're trying to wow those people.
Oh, yes. Oh, absolutely.
Like, this is top notch,
Yeah, this is top notch, and they're clients. They're not giving these away
Right, okay, they're
at a trade show.
That makes
These
sense.
are clients.
Clients.
Right?
Okay,
These are
makes sense.
clients, and this is an equipment company.
Okay.
Right? This is Romco Equipment, who has many divisions, many corporate, structures throughout the world, actually.
Right.
And these go directly to their clients. Let's face so Romco Equipment, they have clients. They can rent a dozen machines that can be $20,000 a week per machine. So these people could be spending $250,000 a week. Let me tell you something. They're going to get a dozen or 2 dozen golf balls at $86 a dozen.
Yeah, exactly. No, it makes total sense.
Yeah, it makes
And
total
Romco,
sense.
that's a great company. I remember visiting there. Those are great guys over there.
Great guys.
If there's any advice you'd like to give companies that are looking to, kind of promote their brand, depending on how they want to go. If they want to go lower dollar, or like maybe to the other example you gave, higher dollar, what are some things they may want to think about that will make them stand out in front of their clients?
I'm old school, and I've been at this for decades. And there's really nothing. There's a reason that we do hundreds of thousands of ball caps a year.
Ball caps. There you go. That's so
And
true.
guess what? People love ball caps.
Yeah.
People absolutely love. I do ball caps every single day.
Okay. Is there a certain hot style right now, or is it just across the map?
It's ball caps were across the board, but I will say for the last 3 or 4 years now, maybe 5 years, the Richardson style caps.
Okay, the Richardson style.
Richardson brand hats. And I love Richardson. Why? Because they're like 15. I'm going to sell them to you guys for $14, $15, $16 each. Right? And you're going to buy
quality.
12, 20. Yeah, they're high quality. You're going to buy 12, 24 dozen of these. Right? So, you know what? Two orders of those a day, I got $7-8 in business. I'm a happy guy, right?
Okay.
If I did $10,000 in business a day, hey, that's $50,000 a week, let's say, just in hats.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
How many do you want?
I like, that's kind of my style, because just like when I order these, I order Nike shirts.
Right.
So I'm probably, if I'm going to get caps, I'm probably more likely to get a Richardson cap.
You probably are, Rollis.
So,
probably are.
Give me an idea of what's a cheap cap that you think are pretty good.
Well,
Cheaper.
and you wouldn't know the name. Right.
But the style, I guess, is.
So.
I guess it doesn't matter the style, it doesn't matter the brand.
It's really the brand,
Okay.
because I can give you a hat that looks just like a Richardson hat, that as opposed to spending $16 a hat, depending on the quantity, you'll spend $7 a hat.
Ah, wow, that's a big difference.
It's a very big difference.
Okay.
That's a huge difference.
So you're able to kind of walk the client through this. So if the client knows the style that they want, you can walk them through if they want the higher dollar one, the lower dollar one, that sort of thing.
Right, and I find that out right away.
Okay.
Right?
What is the difference in quality, would you say? Let's say the Richardson hat and that $7 hat.
You know what, Rollis, really? There really isn't much difference in quality.
So it's just really the brand.
It's really the brand name.
Yeah.
And what do you want to spend?
Yeah.
Is your maximum, Ben, they won't approve, upper ups, $7.50 a hat will be the max.
Right.
I got you. I can do that. Now, of course, one location of embroidery, you want the front, the back, the side. Well, that's going to jack your price up.
Right. So there's ways you can save, but basically, if the company gives you a budget, you'll help them maximize.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
In terms of like the Richardson hat versus a regular hat, it just reminds me of like, why would a person get the Lexus versus a Toyota? It's the same company.
Right. It's the same company. And you know what?
And they're both good cars.
They're both very good cars. And really, the Lexus really is a Toyota. It really is, right? You know what the difference is? The difference is that logo that they put
brand.
on the
There you go,
outside,
that's true.
and they might change the outside shape
Yeah,
a
those few
little,
extra features,
a
whatever,
little
you know.
bit,
Yeah.
right? But it's really the
Yeah.
same car,
So
and it is the same car.
it kind of boils down, I think, to the messaging that the corporation wants to put out
That's
there.
a fact.
You know, do they want to put out the Lexus? Do they
That's
want to put out the
correct.
Toyota? 'Cause
Exactly.
it may be either one. They may want to put a dependable, you know, Toyota, I think dependability, you know.
Right, yes.
The Lexus, I'm thinking luxury.
Right,
So depending on
luxury,
what the-
and of course dependability as well.
Of course.
of course.
Yeah.
But you know they're selling the you know they're putting the luxury out there.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas Toyota is absolutely putting luxury, but at this price.
Yeah. So that brings me to another question: is that a corporation, when they're coming to you, thinking about what they're going to use to promote themselves and their company, do they want to promote themselves with that kind of luxury feel, and maybe give less items out to clients or whatever, or do they want to get more product out there that maybe at a lower budget per unit, but still it's good quality?
Right. It's up to the client. Right. It's up to the client, and I don't make that decision.
Right.
The client's going to make that decision. Now I'm going to find that out in my questioning of them, and then you know make some suggestions.
Right.
And within my suggestions, and I'll say, and of course, you can go on this end, you know,
Yeah.
you can have a Richardson, and you can spend $16 a hat. You know, well, they won't. Okay, fine. You know, I'm just throwing it out there.
Right.
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 I'm just throwing it out there.
Okay, very cool. Well, listen, this has been great. I really enjoyed this. So what's the best way for folks to contact you if they want to do some business?
Best way is Brandgear.shop.
Okay.
Go to our website, pull us up, send me an email. Again, Brandgear.shop.
Okay.
To Ben or Jill, you know, or any of us at Brand Gear, and we will help you out. We will make sure you're taken care of.
Awesome. Well, listen, thanks for being on today.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
it.
My pleasure. I enjoyed it.